Hey everyone, I've got a top 10 list for you today. These are the gaming things that will enhance your game night. It will just take your gaming up that much, just knock it up a notch. Now they will protect your game a little bit better in your components, make it easier for gamers to come over and play with you, and also just make it easier for you to play the game itself because they actually enhance your experience and make it easier to play. Alright, so in no particular order, here are my 10 suggestions to enhance your game night. The first one, bowls. I did not know how much I needed bowls for things like components of small pieces, coins, chits, all sorts of stuff. And if the game itself doesn't come with bowls or bins or things like that to hold your components, they kind of just go all over the table, and then when you try to pick them up, you can't pick them up if they're flat on the surface, if they're like cardboard chits or really weird shaped objects. And these bowls are perfect. Now, these bowls that I use the most, I have 2 of. They are large. These are my board game bowls. That's the name. Another set of board game holders is from Dogmite Games, and this is the component collector, and I was able to select the wood type that I wanted and the particular cut that I wanted. This one holds bits for players and also a place to put a card, and it comes in, as you can see, a bin of itself that you can actually use as a larger holder for all sorts of things. Lastly, I have all of those large Board Game Geek holders, and the great thing about these is they just pop out like this, and then they can lay flat, and so you can keep these and store them anywhere you want. So I have a lot of containers for things because that's just going to keep everything in place. You can actually pass items to players inside of a bowl for them to reach in and grab one if they're face down only. And then when you're done playing, you just pour them back into the sacks that they come from. And so it's a lot easier to distribute, share, and collect so that they're not just all splayed out all over the table. Who knows where those pieces are going. Moving on to my number 2, it is a giant cup of pens and pencils. This is just one of our plastic cups from Joe's back in Oklahoma where we went to college. It just has ink pens, like permanent ink pens that we need for when we write on cards or when we need to make changes to things. We also have tons of those mechanical pencils that we can use. And then it looks like we have some Sharpies in here as well. Having this handy for every time we play, literally within arm's reach of our table. We need this because we're always needing pencils for roll and writes if they don't include the little pencils in there. And we've also been using all of our ink pens to mark up our Jaws of the Lion board. Every time we get something marked off, when we find a treasure chest or when we finish a location, boom, got it right there, ready to go. All right, number 3, you need a first player decider, indicator. So what we use a lot is our pair, shut up and sit down pair dice. We use that a lot. But then I also have some really great memories with our Lucky You. This is a spinner that spins for quite a while on the table, and we use this every single time we played our Clank Legacy, and it was just to make things that much more dramatic because every time it was just this fight to go first, and rolling a die just didn't seem to do it. So that helped us have a lot of fun, but also you need to have a couple of these laying around so that you have those random first player start objects, and you don't have to grab a phone, you don't have to grab anything, you just grab a fun die that just becomes like the first player die, or you have something like this indicator with the Lucky You finger. The next thing you need, number 4, is a sack of dice. These are pretty affordable on Amazon, and they give you wonderful collections of different colored dice, and you just have everything you need. And you can literally, I mean, it's just dice, it's all the dice, it's like sets, right? So you've got your 4, your 6, your 8, your 10, and then you have multiple 10s for the 10 and the single digit for when you have to do multiples all the way to 100, and then you've got your 12 and your 20. So all of the dice are in here that you need. For example, we needed dice for our Jaws of the Lion. For very specific monsters, we had to count out a lot of hit points, and instead of having those little bitty bloody tokens that they give you for the 1s, 3s, and 10s, we just grabbed a couple 20-siders if we had a 60-point monster that we were fighting, and then you just knock it down. Or when you have objectives in Jaws of the Lion, you have all these different tables you have to break. Each table is worth 6 points. Grab a d6, put it on each one of those, and every time you do damage, you knock it down. It's really, really handy. We're always needing dice, so we have a bag of dice just hanging around every place that we play games. All right, so we're at number 5. You need card sleeves. Now, I have not been the best person to sleeve my games. Neither has my husband, but I do understand the value of sleeving the games and the cards that you get in the game, particularly when you have a legacy game. And that's one reason why I would suggest getting the appropriately sized card sleeves for your cards to protect them. It makes it easy to pick up, not as easy to shuffle as I'm learning with our My City game. So because I knew we were playing My City at least 24 times, that meant that we were going to be shuffling the same deck of cards over and over and over again. And after seeing what happened to my copy of The Crew, having played that game at least 40 or 45 times so far, I think we have like 4 adventures left in the entire game. Super exciting. Those cards are really wearing. They are looking a little rough. So I would have sleeved those cards had I had a little bit of foresight and the right size card sleeves. So all you need to do is just a little bit of research and math, and people will probably tell you exactly what card sleeves you need if you go on Board Game Geek, and you can look up your specific game and it'll give you the dimensions of the cards in that game. Card sleeves will save and protect your cards, particularly if you're playing a legacy game or a game that you are going to play a lot. All right, speaking of taking care of your game components and particularly your cards, Plasti Bands are a way to protect your cards, holding them together in the right groupings. Plasti Bands look weird and they're really colorful, and I know when I have students unpack games of mine and they see these, they actually think these are trashy and stupid, and they don't understand that they're actually helping protect the integrity of the game cards. Because if anyone has played games for a long period of time, or you were a kid and you open up your old Monopoly copy and you took the rubber band off of your cards or the money or whatever, you realize that the rubber in the rubber band degrades, and it actually mars your cards. And it ruins them. So you don't want your cards and your components to be ruined simply by storing it properly. And so if you want to bind cards together in groupings, Plasti Bands are really flexible, they're easy to use, and they're just wonderful. So grab these in a pack. This has 200 pieces. Good for the environment, they're really strong, and it says here that they're latex free. So definitely invest in a box of Plasti Bands and start banding your cards with these. Okay, so moving on to my 7th suggestion for enhancing your game night. You need to start taking care of your components a little bit better, and you also want to make things easier to organize and then to take out again at a later date. So what you need is a giant sack of bags. These are just all the kinds of bags that you need in a game. Here's a bigger one. Here's the medium one, and then we got some small ones in here somewhere, but you need to start collecting these. You can find really great prices of these in jewelry, like beads and string and stuff when you're at Walmart. You can buy really nice sized small to medium to large bags, and you can just keep a collection of them, or when you open up other games and you don't use all the bags they give you, collect them here. Don't leave just 1 or 2 in a game here and there when you're not using them. Collect them so that if you need them for a game that didn't give you a sack, you have them. And you can start dividing up your components. One of the things that I really like the most is giving people their own starting player pieces and just putting all of it in one sack and say, here's green player, here's yellow player, here's blue player, here's red player. And you just get all the stuff that you need so that you don't have to pick out all the pieces every single time, and you just go bang, here it is. You dump it out and you're ready to go. So use these sacks wisely and know that they're pretty affordable if you just want to go to, you know, some craft store, and you can find them at a craft store or Walmart super, super cheap. Okay, so my number 8 is investing in a set of poker chips. What that means is these are the chips. These are really, really small, but they have numbers on them. It's really important for you to get poker chips with numbers. And so this is going to make your gaming when you have paper money so much easier. Now, obviously, if you need paper money to fit into spaces that are paper money shaped, or if you need them to fit, like to hide information, then this isn't gonna work. But when you have paper money in a game, like my favorite game, Long Shot, I think I've mentioned how much I love Long Shot. We always play with these because that paper money is so hard to handle, and I hate paper money. It's crap. I hate it. I'm so sorry. You can get mad at me for that, but it's just we just disagree. I would so much rather handle this than paper money. And then when you do change, it's so much easier, and it's easy to see, and they're color coded as well. It makes your gaming life so much easier when you have paper money in your game. And you just pull this out and you just never even touch the paper money. Easy as that. Some sort of playmat. Now, this isn't necessarily the biggest or the best or the nicest playmat, but I do like having a playmat of some kind so that I can lay things out on it, I can film on it, I can play with it. Now, for me, what this does is it makes things easier to grab when you're picking up cards from the table. And some games actually come with a playmat, and I think it's wonderful. I love it so much. The legendary encounters that I talked about when I did my top 5, and it was like cinematic and deck building, it was the aliens. That playmat is honestly to die for. It's so good. And I just recently backed on Kickstarter the manufactions for Fantastic Factories, and specifically got the playmat that comes with it, because every time I played that and taught it to somebody, we always had a hard time reaching in the center. There were always cards that you're drawing. In the very first phase, everyone gets to take a card, either from the top row or the bottom row, and you are putting cards down on the table, and you're doing so much with cards that it just makes it really hard to grab them, and I'm so excited about that playmat. So you can grab one this size, you can grab one bigger, you can use playmats from other games, and you can just play on them. It makes gaming life easy. So many people have super short fingernails and they can't get their hands under a card, and then it just turns into a how long do you wait for them to try to grab that card on the table. And it just, you don't need to waste all that time. Playmat will save you that time. Okay, now for my number 10. This is not necessary, but what it does is it keeps everything in one place. And I love organization, and I love keeping the table really nice and clean and neat. And so my number 10 is, yes, a dice tower. Now, I did have this custom made because it fits inside of itself. It's the wood grain that I wanted with the red inside that I wanted as well. And again, it just makes life easy. You drop your dice down and it stays inside the tray. Ooh, I just got a 17. Yeah, that's right. I am not a good roller, so I get really happy when I have high rolls. And it collapses when you want it to, so that it keeps the dust out. And you can roll your dice and use this, particularly if it's a dice-heavy game. And then everyone feels kind of excited because they get to dump dice down this little tower chute. And it kind of just makes things fun and easy and fast, and again, stays really organized. And so I would lastly, for my 10, suggest a dice tower. I hope you liked all my suggestions and you decide to incorporate one or two or all of them into your game night. Again, I tried to pick things that really amps up your gaming. Let's say you're a casual gamer. You may not have Plasti Bands yet. You may not card sleeve yet. You may not have bowls that you can just generally use for all your games. Or you may not have that just giant tub of pens and pencils ready to go. You need to have these things right there to make game night easy and fun, and make it just a really great night. People will want to come over if you have all the things that just make it easy to play. So definitely try to incorporate a couple of these, and if you've already done it or you have some suggestions of your own, put that in the comments below and I'll take a look at it.